believing that our goal has always been to have a community where everyone has water, adequate water service and adequate sewage service as part of our utilities. And in some cases, the community simply has never been able to provide that. The flood and other circumstances has allowed us to change some of that. So we're getting, trying to have some discussions with these folks. And of course, at some point, it comes down to that in order to complete the job, it may require a higher level of authority to address those subjects, and that's where we get into the legal matters. And in talking to Mr. Chiglow, his question is, well, are we committed to these ordinances, or do we, as council, want to change them and not want to enforce them as they stand? And that's when you would ask to have Terry come and explain. And I think Terry has probably some valuable opening comments that would be good. He's gone through some of it and has identified some places I think that he would even suggest we change. So, Terry, would you mind starting? Or?
Sure. Well, in a general sense, your sewer use and user charge ordinance, this one, is a very narrowly focused document, meaning that it does not allow you the latitude to enforce the provisions of this document for any extensions or additions to your system that didn't exist at the time that this was done. So it's difficult to enforce things if you extend a sewer main out and for example, had customers or citizens with a private septic system. There could be some very simple changes to the wording that would allow for that to occur. And just as an example, on page 7 of that ordinance, under 4.03, you could add language that if you want, I can just read some suggestions to you, but or if you want to appoint a subcommittee to look into it, that's fine. But there needs to be some adjustments done to allow this ordinance to be enforced and to be equitably enforced against people that are similarly situated. You don't want piecemeal enforcement. Similarly situated people should have the ordinance applied to them in a similar manner, and there needs to be some adjustments to the language to allow that to occur. The same would go for your water connection and ordinance. My position on your ordinances is, again, you should treat similarly situated people the same, and the ordinance should be applied consistently. It's very difficult for Mr. Copley to try to enforce this when there's language needed to be added that would allow him the authority to do that and to actually enforce the ordinance against people. That being said, anytime that you try to enforce an ordinance or other ordinances, you'll have some issues with that. And certainly if you get into enforcing these and if you get some comments back, staff and I would like your backing on that you're there to enforce things. No one's out to cause problems for people. No one's out to pick on any individual homeowners or anything else, but your ordinances are there. Some wording needs to be changed, but if you want them enforced, they should be enforced. They shouldn't be passed over, or you need to change them or repeal them or do something rather than just not enforcing them.
Change the ordinance requires public hearing, correct?
There's some wording that would require in the sewer ordinance a public hearing and discussion about the desired changes. And yes, you would need a public hearing. The water connection ordinance doesn't need any changes. It just needs enforcement. For example, in that ordinance prohibits private water systems the repair or the maintenance of them. Okay. Now, it's common knowledge that these things have been repaired and replaced. And so if that is going to be allowed to occur, well then why don't you amend the ordinance to take repair and replace out or something? It's just...
How many private systems are connected to the sanitary sewer?
Private wells, it looks like you have about 20.
20? 22.
Okay. And private sewers, you have probably what, 14?
14. Well, they're not connected.
Well, no, but your ordinance says that, you know, requires them to connect. You know,
They're within the ability to be.
We have 22 private wells that are tapped into the water system.
Not bad out of 300.
Oh, but some of those are empty lots now too.
Some of them, I just counted off, it was about 8, so it's about 14 private wells left to be spoken to.
But there are a total of 22 that exist.
Did exist. I went through the list of what we've already abandoned or capped. And there's probably 6 that I know for sure are empty lots, and those wells are gone. We'd have sealed them. There's 2 empty houses that I'm not positive about, out of the 22. That, so there's roughly 14 to 16 that I have to either talk to, look at. The ordinance is part of our issue. The other part of the issue is we have the Minnesota Department of Health rules and NPCA and PDS permit rules that go along with enforcement of our ordinances. And anytime you have a private well, city staff has to go into each one of those homes and do a cross-connection inspection on an annual basis and report back to the Minnesota Department of Health. I guarantee you I'm not getting in these houses.
Why?
They won't let me in. And what am I gonna do? I got no enforcement.
That's Sam.
That's Sam.
He don't want it. So we talk
I can't show you an ordinance in that deal that says that I have the right to enter someone's home without a warrant.
I've taken a very difficult stance with Mr. Copley on that. If it isn't in the ordinance, you're not trespassing. And that's just plain and simple. If you want that ability, we'll have to put it in there. And we've had that discussion, but if you want that ability to do that, we need to put that in the ordinance in some appropriate way.
Plus, we need to make sure that Public Works doesn't look like we're a bunch of people that wanna run out and smash these wells and wreck them. That's not our goal. Our goal of Public Works is to make sure we work with and for the citizen of Rushford. If they tell me that I can't come in, I'm not gonna argue with them. Thank you for your time, I'm out of here. My job is not to run in and look through their house and find tons of violations. That's not my job. But on the other hand, we have an ordinance to follow. If I find something there, I need to inform that resident that there's an issue, and I need backing to be able to take care of it. Once I have found an issue and I have confronted the resident about that, I've been pretty much asked to leave the premises and not come back. Again, what do you want me to do?
Are you saying that some of these houses at least have connections to the main water system, the city water system?
If I find a well that is cross-connected to the city water system by Minnesota Department of Health rule, I cannot leave that house without physically separating that pipe. Can you imagine, Robert, if I come into your house and I'm gonna cut a pipe in your house and eliminate your water while I'm in your house? It doesn't sit well.
True. We need to revise the ordinance. After going through all the money to spend on the water treatment plant, we don't want any contamination.
Well, we haven't exactly conducted these inspections either, have we?
Only ones that we found when we went in to do water meter repairs.
Well, isn't that exactly what got us in trouble in the first place? When we found the 300
Yeah.
supposedly illegal wells?
Jeff Green from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources has got a grant for about $500,000 to still investigate why we lost well number 3. Everything points to the surface water in Pine Creek and the areas up off Rush Creek that are disappearing into the aquifer and resurfacing in other farm wells. And he's slowly working his way into Rushford. And yes, we are finding them. Now, there are people on this list that have a sand point only, less than 30 feet. Did that get into the aquifer